whenever anyone talks about the Barbie movie, it's about Ken. And I loved how at the Oscars he did a live performance of "I'm Just Ken" with all of the other
Did he
Kens.
really?
Yeah, he wore a pink sparkly suit, and then he sang "I'm Just Ken," and then he sung along all of the other Kens from the movie, like the Asian Ken and the black Ken and everything. And I think it was Hollywood's acceptance of the fact that it's like, yeah, we all understand you like Ken more than Barbie, even though that's not exactly what we intended for the movie.
Yeah, you know, I remember watching it. I went and I watched it. I was like, okay, this is a good movie, but I know, like, I'm sitting here knowing I'm not who this movie was aimed at all.
I'm not supposed to sympathize and empathize with Ken as much as I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what they intended. Well, it's like I think it's like a feminist manifesto in terms of messaging. But again, it's another movie where any kind of feminist point they try and make, they completely undermine it immediately.
Really?
You know? Yeah. So like, okay, at the beginning of the movie, when the Barbies are all pursuing their careers, hanging out, and just telling each other how beautiful they are, the Kens are just hanging out, being essentially second-class citizens with what I can only surmise as being homeless as well. Because later on the Barbie movie, the little girl asks Barbie, "Where do the Kens stay?" And she says, "I honestly don't know."
So does each Barbie like have their own house? That's cool. Where do the Kens stay?
I don't know.
So you can surmise from that the Kens just, I don't know, I guess they just stand in a corner at night and then wait for the Barbies to get done with their girls' night, and then they go and cheer on the Barbies the next day. Ken goes into the real world, comes back to Barbie Land, brings the ideas and knowledge that he's learned, and enables the Kens to find agency and be the kind of men that they've always wanted to be. They're hanging out, drinking beers, lifting weights, having a good time, and they're finally happy. They're finally getting the attention of the Barbies. And the Barbies are actually happy as well. The Barbies say that they're happy as fuck.
Barbie, I'm so happy to see you. Can you believe what is happening? I know, isn't it great?
Anyone need a brewski beer?
What are you doing? You're a doctor.
I like being a helpful decoration.
And Alan likes to help me give all the Kens foot massages.
No, I don't. I don't like that.
We love it.
They're hanging out. They're hanging out with the Kens, you know, not using their brains, as they said, just dressed in maid outfits, bringing them brewski beers. And the Kens are finally getting the attention they've always wanted. And the Barbies are being treated like the queens they are. And then at the end of that, Barbie starts like an underground mujahideen in order to overthrow the Kens and trick all of the other Barbies into not being happy. Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
It's like all of the Barbies are having a good time, and the Kens are actually happy as well for the first time. They finally have access to what they've always wanted, which is the attention of the Barbies. And now we're going to take that away from them. And the Kens go to war with each other because when the Barbies swap places with all the Kens and then redirect their rage at each other, the Kens don't direct their anger at the Barbies, even though that's what they should do, because the Barbies are mistreating them and misleading them. But because the Kens hold the Barbies in such high regard, they don't assume that the Barbies are doing anything untoward. Why would they? You know, because the Kens wouldn't do that to the Barbies. The Kens wouldn't do that to the Barbies because of how much they care for them.
Yeah.
And
they
then
always are at the
right. And then
like
because
worship.
of that, the Kens have to go to war with each other while the Barbies take away the Kens' rights and reestablish Barbie Land. Yeah.
They disestablish the Kens.
Yeah. Instead of getting equal rights for the Kens and to where the Barbies and the Kens are equal with one another, no, they return the Kens back to their second-class citizenship and put themselves back in power after maybe 72 hours of them being out of power. Yeah.
They had a short reign.
And that's my interpretation of the Barbie movie, and I've gotten into many an argument with a woman over that. I'm like, yeah, Ken's the hero of the movie. He's the good guy. Yeah, I mean, if you do the Barbie movie and you go to that part where Ken finally gets his Mojo Dojo Casa house,
henceforth be known as Ken's Mojo Dojo Casa House.
You don't have to say dojo and house and casa.
But you do because it feels good.
and he's not happy to be throwing Barbie out of his Mojo Dojo Casa house. He just figures like, this is what I should do because this is how she's always treated me.
This is just what you do.
Yeah, he's traumatized and he's crying when he's throwing her printed palazzo pants out the window at her and onto the ground. He's crying as it's happening, and then Barbie runs away crying as well. It's like I just have to accept this as my reality. But he's not happy with it. If you cut to the part where Barbie's crying right after that, and you end the movie, perfect movie. Perfect movie. Yeah, the Kens remain in power. They're just hanging out, chilling, lifting weights, driving their Hummers.
What kind of Ken do you believe that you would be?
I don't know. Any Ken is really enough. I wouldn't really care as long as I'm not. As long as I got a Barbie in a maid's outfit bringing me a brewski beer.
A brewski.
Yeah. Well, I ride my horsey. Yes, I'm down. I don't care what it is. Mm-hmm. But that being said, I love the Barbie movie. I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times.